In today's episode, you are going to get an inside view into a relatively new veterans group and the fly tying and fly fishing expo that you're going to want to attend this year. We're going to find out what it takes to build a program to help veterans and how you can get involved to help some folks in your region or your part of the world. And we are going to talk fishing today. A little tiger trout and a little brown trout is going to round out today's episode. This is the Wet Fly Swing podcast, where I show you the best places to travel to for fly fishing, how to find the best resources and tools to prepare for that big trip, and what you can do to give back to the fish species we all love. Hey, how's it going? I'm Dave, host of the Wet Fly Swing podcast. I've been fly fishing since I was a little kid. I grew up around a little fly shop and have created one of the largest fly fishing podcasts in this country. I've also interviewed more of the greatest fly anglers and veterans groups than just about anyone out there. Doug Myers, head man at Fly Fishing Veterans, is going to share his story of serving in the Air Force today before fighting fires for over 30 years. We're going to hear about some of his home waters in Oregon, Montana, and Idaho, and we're going to hear which place he'd choose to settle down in forever if he had to pick just one. Plus, you're going to hear about Diamond Lake and where you can find 30-inch trout, including those illustrious tiger trout. So let's get into it. Here we go. Another great veterans group. This is Doug Myers from flyfishingveterans.org. How you doing, Doug?
Real good. Thank you, Dave, for asking me in.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on here. This is going to be fun today. We've done a number of episodes with veterans groups, Project Healing Waters. We've had some up in Canada. And I think they've all been great because, you guys are doing some really important stuff, supporting veterans and all that. So we're going to talk about that and also talk about this new fly tying and fishing expo down in Southern Oregon, which I'm really interested in hearing about, because I think the one up in Albany is one of the biggest ones, I think, in the area. But I want to hear about this one. But before we get there, take us back into fly fishing. How did you first get into it? What's your first memory?
1979, I was stationed at Malmstrom Air Base, and we went out with the old combination spinning fly rod. And before I could use it, the door closed on it, so I never got a chance at it. So fast forward, in 2017, we relocated from North Dakota to here. And my son got me involved in Healing Waters here at the Umpqua program. So it was a good introduction, great group of people, learned a lot, still learning a lot. End of 2018, I was asked to take over the Umpqua program. And so with the great staff we have, in 2019, me being retired and having more time than the previous program lead, which was Jeff McEnroe, we managed to expand the organization by 300% in 2019. And so doing so, we ended up with just 40 to 50 veterans meeting monthly at the VA. And then continuing on with our activities, we were doing about 60 activities for the year. That's, into fly tying, rod building, casting sessions, some fly fishing education and safety stuff. Going out and enjoying the waters, and putting it to use on that.
Right. And going out and doing some trips. Are you guys also doing those sorts of things like with groups?
Yes, we do. We try to do a monthly trip, the third weekend of the month. And we spent 5 days on the main Umpqua in June, going for smallies. And we had Tokenie lined up here last month for 5 days. But of course, we got burning on that one. We'll do some rescheduling next year and probably swap the two events around.
Gotcha. Wow. And is this connected to Project Healing Waters? Is this all part of the same group?
A lot of the management that continued on to transition into fly fishing veterans have since, they've gone on to other stuff. They're still with us, but they're not in the management component of it. So let me back up a little bit on that. When I took it over in 2018, and then 2019 was a really good year. 2020, we had 125 activities scheduled, and of course, COVID hit. So by the end of 2020, Healing Waters was, shutting down some of the programs or restricting them. And during my time that I was in Healing Waters, I observed a need that we were missing some veterans, a lot of veterans, because of not having a disability rating. And then also with my background in the fire service, watching the mental health issues spiral out of control for our first responders and healthcare personnel. I got with our management on the program and said, why don't we start our own organization and serve all military, first responders, and healthcare personnel? And no disability rating or anything like that. Everybody has a bad day at times, and that's kind of how it took off from there. We keep the same core values on that and program because it works. It's just a great way for them to decompress. And so that's where we're at now.
Yeah, it makes sense. So basically, yeah, Project Healing Waters doesn't necessarily, contain all of the fire. They just do veterans. So what you did, creating the new organization, allowed you to basically bring in some of these other first responders and folks where Project Healing Waters wouldn't do.
Yeah, and we still fish with the guys with Project Healing Waters. They come through here at times and want to go out and stuff, so we take them out in the water just as well. We collaborate with them out here.
Gotcha. What was that like? Sounds like you were there at the beginning when it was Project Healing Waters and then transitioned into the new organization. Was that a lot of work? Is that something that other people listening now in their own areas could do that pretty easily?
Well, what I did is in 2018 and 2019, we had been collaborating with Umpqua Valley Fly Fishers for a couple of years. And so in 2019, we did the Fly Fest or the film festival here in Roseburg.
Right.
On that. And that was a good fundraiser for us and collaborative effort on that portion of it. And so we continued to build on that. And as we move forward into it, we've transitioned into what we're doing now with the Fly Festival that it was back in 2022, and then into the Expo that's coming up.
Right. So you have that coming. So the Umpqua Valley Fly Fishers is basically like a lot of the groups around the country. It's a group regionally located so people can get together and have speakers come in and things like that. What is the Umpqua? What is the extent? Is this just the Umpqua River and tributaries, or how big is the area?
We cover Umpqua River and the tributaries, Diamond Lake. We'll even do the Columbia Drain too, and we'll go down south to the Rogue area as well.
And what was the Columbia? What was that one?
Columbia Drain.
Oh, Columbia Drain. Okay. Columbia Drain, and then down to, and then the Rogue is part of your area too.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we can go out to Coos, that area as well.
Yep. Good. Are you guys planning a Rogue River excursion, or do you guys do one of those?
This next year, yes.
Yeah. What do you have it all planned, or what are you thinking?
No, we'll be in the process of that over the winter time.
That's awesome. And the way these trips work, I guess, for folks that don't know, is you basically fund a trip. Maybe describe how that works. Is this similar to Project Healing Waters? How would it work if somebody was a veteran or first responder and they wanted to get involved?
What we do is we provide the materials and equipment for them to participate. And then we go after our own donations in that, and both in-kind donations and monetary donations to be able to make these trips happen.
Gotcha. So if there's 50 people in your group and you had a Rogue River trip, how many people would be able to go on that? Or how does that work?
It all depends on funding at the time. But generally speaking, for example, for our 5 days, we usually have about 30 folks out there.
Oh, wow. So 30 people can attend. So this isn't something where you're necessarily floating the river. Is this something where you're camping at one location and then fishing from there?
For the Umpqua trip, we do 5 days at the Eagle View BLM campground. So we do both bank fishing and from the boats, and be able to accommodate their abilities on it. I like to think we serve their abilities and not their disabilities.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so that's some of the trips you have going. Let's talk about this new event, because I think this is pretty interesting. There's, like we said at the top, there's already a number of fly tying and fishing expos around. I think the Albany one is one of the bigger ones. Is this going to look like Albany, or how is this going to be different maybe? Or, what are your thoughts here? Do you have it all planned out?
We have it all planned out. This will be our third year of doing this. We started in 2022. And the idea behind this, working with Umpqua Valley Fly Fishers, was that we wanted to get the community to re-engage after the COVID experience there. So we got with the Winston Community Center, which is about 3,000 or 3,500 square feet. And we ended up with about 40 fly tyers coming in from all over Oregon, Washington, Northern California, and getting in that. And then we had fundraising as far as raffles and silent auction went on. And we realized that day that we outgrew that venue very fast. in 23 last year, we jumped it over to Douglas County Fairgrounds in Roseburg at the conference center, and that brought us up to 12,000 square feet. So we had approximately a little over 50 fly tyers last year participating in it. We did interactive demonstrations for fly casting outside. We had beginner fly tying sessions inside, and it turned out to be a really good event for us on that.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I would think that one of the challenges on these things is when you get really small regionally that it's hard to get enough people. But it sounds like if you got 50 tires coming, it sounds like you got a pretty good turnout. And are you getting public? Is the public also attending these?
Yes, it was. And actually what we've done in 22, the idea on getting the public to re-engage is I brought the Boy Scouts in to do burgers and dogs for a fundraiser. And then mission is a nonprofit or non-perishable food item then. So we've carried that same philosophy through last year. And this year here, admission is going to be $5 or two non-perishable food items, each adult. And then we'll get them in there and let them have some fun. That's what it's about.
Right. And is it similar to, say, the Albany style where people are sitting there and you walk around and just watch people tying flies and that sort of thing?
Yes. They'll be stationed at tables in there, and the public can come in, sit down, interact with the fly tyers. And some of these fly tyers are nationally renowned for their tying skills and craftsmanship and everything, their artwork as well. And then this year here, we're, in addition to having the casting demonstrations there, we are also going to introduce the Bug Launcher Classic Fly Casting Skills Challenge outside. And so this will be out in the Umpqua Park there at the fairgrounds. And so we'll have, I think, 6 stations are going to be set up for them to come out and do a little competition with each other. There's the winners from that. Winner from that will have a trophy that will traveling trophy, and it's a very nice custom trophy for the event, and there'll be some prizes in that as well.
Okay. How does is the bug launcher, is that, so that's not related to bugs, but more the casting?
It's casting, yes.
Yeah. And bug launcher just being, you're launching your bugs out with your cast.
Yep. If you got a fly, you got your bugs out there.
Gotcha. And what is that? Talk about that a little bit. What is that? What will they be doing? What will the winner have to do?
So what they'll do is they'll be scored on each obstacle based on the type of target that it is, how close they are to it. There's a range and a point is being established by that. Mike McCoy is handling that portion of it for us from the Umpqua Valley Fly Fishers on it. And we have some other folks helping out there with that too.
Nice. Yeah. And of course, Mike McCoy was, we almost had him on here, but we had some scheduling challenges, so he's not here. But Mike is the father of Dave McCoy, right, up in Seattle?
Yes, he is.
That's right, at the Emerald Waters Fly Shop.
That is correct.
Nice. Okay. And who are some of the fly tyers that will be there? You mentioned you have some names, or maybe talk about that. Who are some of the folks, and then how do you find folks to attend?
A lot of the folks, my introduction to this was at the Albany show in 2018 through Healing Waters. And so I got the idea that, well, we've got these shows up north, but we really don't have anything like this down south on it. So it was, in the back of my mind and kicking it around and everything, and managed to push it to where it's at. And it's a lot of work. It's exciting. And we've got a lot of nice people, So some of the folks we have, Bob Wolf, Alan Wood. Let's see, who's some of the other ones in here? Sean Glazier, Tom Corbraire, Bruce Luxford, Randy Taylor.
And these guys, and these are all a mixture of fly tying, like types of skills and things like that they do?
Yes, they'll tie from wet flies, dry flies, steelhead, just a variety of it. Yeah. And what I like to do is I like to have a variety of skill levels tying too. So folks can see it from a beginner and those that are moving up the line, improving their skills. The idea be able to get the next generation involved in the fly fishing sport. And that's why we work with the Boy Scouts here for the Fly Fishing Merit Badge on their yearly stuff with that. And we actually did an event 2 years ago with the Riverview Christian Center out there in Coos Bay. They had a big event going on for father, son, daughter, and did the fly fishing component of that for them. And that was a great thing. It was really amazing to see how the kids gravitated to the fly rods.
Drift along the current with us for a moment. Ever wondered where to find unparalleled fly fishing gear? In a world full of ordinary, Jackson Hole Fly Company stands out, merging innovation with affordability. They've redefined the online fly shop experience with their own line of high-quality rods, reels, accessories, and tools. Not to mention over 1,000 hand-tied fly patterns. Discover fly fishing gear that doesn't compromise, impeccable quality, yet surprisingly affordable. Discover the magic of Jackson Hole Fly Company. And remember, every great story starts with a cast. Visit Jackson Hole Fly Company today. Angler's Coffee roasts some of the highest quality beans on the market, and every bag you purchase helps support the fish species we love. It's a win-win. This month, I'm absolutely hooked on the Woolies blend. It's smooth, rich, and perfect for those early mornings. So why not enjoy a tasty brew and support a great cause? Visit anglerscoffee.com to back a sustainable company with unsurpassed flavor. The people attending, maybe talk about that. Who would this be for? And are you, is it more locally or folks coming in from around, or like what would people that attend it, who is your typical member?
As far as the participants coming in to tie, this year here, they're coming in from Nevada, California, Northern California, of course, Washington, Oregon, and I think there's one or two coming in from Idaho this year. So we're trying to bring a larger volume into it.
Yeah, and these are the tires. Those are the tires that are coming in?
Yes. As far as the attendees go, they come in from all over. Of course, the largest populace is Oregon here, and that can just be somebody who's interested maybe in seeing what it's about. And there's others that, they're very active in the fly fishing sport, and they come in, join it, and have a great day.
Right. So pretty much anyway. So if somebody's listening now and it's probably more regionally, because you're probably not getting too many people that are flying in, I'm guessing. So it's probably within a few 100-mile radius is my guess.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
That's a good point on that. Yes.
Yeah. So you're getting probably everything from Portland, maybe even, like you said, Washington, Idaho, California, Northern California, that sort of stuff. Cool.
This year here, we moved it earlier in the fall because of weather conditions. We were November last year. So now that we're October 5th this year, that'll make it a lot easier for folks to get here without being too concerned about road conditions.
Yeah, that's right. So it's October 5th. Yeah. So this is definitely right around the corner. And as we record this, I don't have the calendar in front of us, but I believe it's going to be going out just before that. So we'll have, well, let's just talk about that. So if somebody's listening now and they're within the area and they want to attend, what should they do? How do they get a ticket, or do they just show up?
They just show up at the door at the conference center there at the fairgrounds.
In Roseburg?
In Roseburg, correct. If they go to our website, flyfishingveterans.org, under events, there's a link with the flyer right there for them.
Okay.
And there's also a link on there if they're interested in getting involved into the Bug Launcher Classic Championship there.
Yeah, the Bug Launcher. And is that your main kind of event within the event, or do you have other kind of events like that?
Yeah, this would be the main event that we have. This is our yearly fundraiser to help support the organizations on that. And we're just looking to grow it. I participate with the Albany program up there with the veterans on that. Unfortunately, I'm not a fly tyer, but...
How did that program go? We talked about that earlier in the year. How did that event go this last... it was in February, right? March?
March.
Yeah, March. Were you there?
Yes. Good show, good turnout, a lot of vendors this year. It was good all the way around there.
Gotcha. So what is it sounds like you've been doing this a few years. Like, what do you consider your home waters?
My home waters, I really enjoy Montana and Idaho.
Oh, wow.
There's just something, having been stationed in Montana, it just takes me back there.
Right.
Certainly enjoy the waters out here. I floated the Rogue earlier this year on a trip, and it was a beautiful river. Enjoyed that. We had a great day. One of the veterans had won a raffle for a float trip down there for fishing. And so I spent the day with him, and it turned out to be very nice on that. But a lot of good time here. The North Umpqua is just an amazing river. We actually have Curtis Palmer's retired guide in our organization, and he's taken me down that a couple times. And the history that on that river is just amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is. We've done a couple of episodes on the Rogue, and yeah, it's got a long history of famous writers and people, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I've even got some history of my own from back in the day. My let's see, it would be my grandfather. It was my uncle's dad. Lived on the Rogue back for like 2 years. And actually, my uncle, Jack, was a veteran as well. He was in World War II, and he was one of the folks that helped keep, kind of during the war, Japan from invading kind of that part of Alaska. But before he got kind of famous in the military, as a young kid, he lived with his dad on the river because they were essentially homeless for a couple years. And they lived on the Rogue at one of the bars down there, one of the famous bars, and they were gold panning. That's how they made their living for about 2 years and living off the river. And so it's pretty interesting. My uncle, Jack, that's my great uncle, but his son wrote a book about him, and it's an amazing book. So anyways, we'll put a link to the show notes to that book. I'm not sure if anybody can get it, but so I have a lot of history there. I love the river too. We were just there last week. We stopped by, but yeah, I think the Rogue is amazing. What's Montana? Where were you stationed there?
Fishing the Big Hole.
Oh yeah, Big Hole.
There in Whites River.
Is that like Wade Fellons in that area?
Yeah.
I think that's the Big Hole Lodge, I believe, out there.
In Idaho, we got Henry's Fork and the South Fork of the Snake, the Henry's Fork is just amazing. And Henry's Lake is a lot of fun too over there. Last year before, we had done a couple month trip over there and got blown out with all the water and everything happened and temperatures all over the place, but we had a good time. Few miles on the river.
That's good. Yeah. That's where we've done a ton of stuff out there. We're heading there to Henry's right around the corner, and yeah, we're doing some Euro stuff as well. So that's good. What is, maybe talk about some of the people in your group. I know we've had we had Bo Beasley on, who wrote a book called Healing Waters. He talked about some of the stories. He had personal interviews with people who had trauma from the wars and stuff. Do you is that something that, I know that's part of the process, right? Talking about it, but is there any stories you could share about any kind of successes or people who have been through the program who have found fly fishing helpful?
In general, there's folks that it's definitely changed their lives on it. We have some that have saved their life, and it's I don't like to go too deep into that.
Right, we don't want to do it we don't want to name any names and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. What about yourself? Can you talk about a little bit about the impact of? Sounds like Project Healing Waters was pretty impactful for you. Did you find it helped quite a bit?
Oh yeah, definitely. It being retired, it gave me something to do on that, more active and everything, and it was a great introduction to a means that you can just break away and go relax for a while and just let it go.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's about. You forget for a moment about all that, whatever stuff that's there.
Yes.
Nice. Well, yeah, I guess maybe, we're going to head out of here in a little bit, but before we get there, I want to make sure I don't miss anything about the event coming up or, your organization. Anything we haven't talked about here you want to make sure to cover?
Yeah, there's something here. This year here, we added to it through the Whole Health and Wellness program at the Roseburg VA. Every Thursday from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we do a casting session there and reach out to more veterans. And we actually have a lot of the employees that are scheduling their breaks around that time and come out and either learn how to cast or come out just to work on their skill sets, So it's just a nice, take some time off and get the folks out of the house and get them out and get them exercising on that.
How do you find those people, or how do you find new people to attend?
Just through word of mouth and flyers. The VA is really behind us and helping with this as well. It's a tough thing right now. Suicide rate for veterans in Oregon, the highest is in Douglas County and Southern Oregon, throughout the whole state.
Right. And is there any, I guess that's just part of it, probably no rhyme or reason to that. That's just the way it is.
Well, yeah, it's just diametrics to that. So our goal is to reach out and see if we can't get these folks, get them out, get them away from everything and restart their life a little bit, make them a better day for them. Last year, we had a track chair that was donated to us by a Korean veteran. No longer use it, so that's a great asset for us. In addition to that, we also have a 16-foot Koffler 2013 wheelchair accessible drift boat.
Oh, yeah.
It was the first one built in the state.
Yep.
And so we acquired that a couple years ago, and that's a fabulous asset where we can just lower the bow onto the ramp or shoreline. They can walk or roll in, and
Yeah. And so that's what it is. Is that goes from the bow, not the stern? That's the front of the boat where you have the ramp?
It goes from, the bow of the boat. We just manually let it down and open it up there and let them roll in or walk in. They can either transition from their wheelchair into the boat seat, or we take the dry box out and put them in their own chair up front, whatever works for them. It gives them a nice back area to work with. And Joe Koffler and his staff up there have been great with us with helping out with the boat and that. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Joe's great. We had Joe on a while back, and we have an episode there. I'll put a link in the show notes to that with Koffler. And I have a Koffler boat that I've had for years, a 17-footer, which is, they make great boats.
Pretty durable boats, It's very stable. It's amazing how stable it is really for the size of it.
Yeah, they are definitely stable. I've had mine in some tricky situations and fully loaded. I think the one we have, Joe makes them, it's a 17-footer, and it's made for, hauling a lot of gear. I'm guessing this one probably is too. Is it 18 feet?
It's a 16-foot.
Oh, 16 foot. Okay, yeah. So it's it's typical size. Okay.
But it's wider than the normal one is.
Trout Routes is the most comprehensive mapping app for trout anglers. With over 50,000 trout streams, 350,000 access points, public land maps, and more, Trout Routes is the #1 resource for navigating, researching, and exploring trout streams, and it deserves a place in every angler's toolkit. I was in New York fishing recently. My first time in New York fishing, I had the Trout Routes app, and I was able to check out and access public access points through the maze of private property on the rivers we were fishing. And after I got into the stream and was fishing down through a run, I wasn't quite sure. I saw a house down below. I wasn't quite sure where the property lines ended, but given that I had Trout Routes, I was confident where I was fishing, and I was able to assure that I wasn't trespassing. You will be fully prepared with offline maps. You can get driving directions to points of interest, drop pins, add your notes in the app, all while keeping all of your data private to your account only. You can visit troutroutes.com right now to learn more and download the Trout Routes app for free in the App Store today. That's Trout Routes, TROUTROUTES. Start exploring today. Do you guys choose, when you do your trips out there, whether with Koffler boat or whatever, do you always have guides along on these trips?
We have, at times you have guides, yes. And we have, like I said, we've got some guides, retired guides in our organization that help us as well. So it's a good resource for us to have within the organization. I know on the Umpqua River, we also have others come in to help be able to get more folks on the water that way too. We also help out with the Diamond and Vets. We were unable to this year because we had our 5 days on the Umpqua the same time they were having theirs up at Diamond Lake. That's a great event too, in support of Fallen Outdoors, and collaborate with them as well.
Right. And is Diamond Lake, have you fished that a few times?
Yes, I have. I enjoy that up there. Fortunately for myself, I'm more behind the desk anymore.
Yeah.
With this. But when I do, I do get out there and certainly enjoy that.
What's Diamond Lake? What's that fishing like? Is that something where, maybe describe that? Is there a lot of fly anglers out there, a lot of a mix?
Yes, there is. Of course, up there, you've got your rainbows, and then you've got your brown trout and your tiger trout. And some of the folks that are fishing it in our organization it's turning into a great fishery. You're looking at 30-inch fish.
Oh, wow. 30-inch rainbows?
I think rainbows are running around 26, 22, 26. But you got browns and tigers that are really gaining size now. And of course, you can keep rainbow, but the tigers and browns are in there to help the lake out.
Oh, the tui chub. Yeah, there was the big tui chub issue there.
Yeah, really good fishery.
So that's it. So the tiger and browns were planted in after they took care of the tui chubs to help keep them down.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's pretty amazing. And it seems to be working, it sounds like.
It's not a problem, but they're watching it closely, though.
Gotcha. What are the others? So we talked about the Rogue, Diamond Lake, the Umpqua. I'm sure the North Umpqua. Do you guys also hit that for the winter steelhead or the summer?
Several of our folks are not capable of doing the wading on it, but we'll try and get them on a boat and get them floating down that. We'll also do Tokenie, which is a very Tokenie and Forebay up there on that. Next year, we're going to move a little further north up 97 up there and that way there, and do some of those lakes up there. That's some of the areas that we haven't been to very much.
Gotcha. Wow. And do you guys? Well, let's take it out here real quick. This is kind of our listener shout out segment, and today it's going to be the shout out is going to be to Shandy, who's the person who kind of put this together, or at least hooked this up. I wasn't aware of this, and she mentioned that you had this event going. So shout out there. This is also part of the Wet Fly Swing Pro, our little group on the podcast where people are connecting. So I want to give a shout out there. Today it's presented by Fishhound Expeditions, who's our Alaska remote wilderness guide. We're going to be heading up there next year doing an Alaska trip. So big shout out to that and Fishhound. What is your, as far as trips? It sounds like maybe you're doing some office stuff, but do you have one of those bucket list trips that you're thinking you would like to get on sometime in the future?
I want to hit Alaska. My son and his family live up there.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. They relocated from here 3 years ago. And so they're reach, and we usually get up there in the wintertime, it seems like, but we're going to be planning a trip where we're there for the fishing time.
Yeah. Where are they located?
Right in Anchorage.
Oh, they're right in Anchorage. Yeah. How so 3 years there in Alaska, is that, are they loving it, or how does it feel for them?
Oh, yeah, they love it. My son was stationed there in the Air Force and had met his wife there, and who's born and raised there and everything. And so they're raising our only 2 grandkids there, and keeps them busy.
Keeps them busy, right? Right now it's amazing because they got tons of sunlight. I guess you have to love a little bit of pain, right? Because the winter times aren't the easiest.
Yeah, that's hard to get used to. Even when we visit, it's different.
Yeah.
Different to get used to, but it's great. It's just great to see what they're doing with the grandkids.
That's it. And so, so he was in the Air Force as well. So that's where you went through the Air Force?
Yeah, I went through the Air Force just to get in the fire department. And then, so I spent 10 years in the Air Force and was retired medically. And then I spent another 26 years in fire prevention for the civilian department. So
yeah,
36 years in the service is good enough.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's probably more than most. What did you do in the fire? Did you, I have a friend, Greg, another shout out to Greg. He's a fire he did some fire inspecting and stuff, but what was your fire work you did?
I did suppression in the Air Force, crash fire rescue, and the civilian. I also did structural firefighting with that. And then I had an injury that put me off the floor. So I went into fire prevention for 26 years, doing inspections and plan checks and that. And the last 4 years of my career, I did arson investigation for North Dakota.
Right.
After I left California there. And so very good time. I enjoyed it. My youngest daughter's retired Air Force, and my wife was Air Force.
Wow. Whole family.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right. No, it's amazing. And how did you find yourself? So do you live in Roseburg, or where do you live now?
We lived in Sutherland. We were relocated to. It was nice getting to a town of 10,000 people versus LA, for a few million people on it. So kind of transition around between there and Montana, Bremerton up there. It's been a good journey.
Right on. Well, I guess, I think I got just one random one here that I like to ask just to get some music in the show notes here as we go. But do you listen to, if you're on these road trips, are you listening to more podcasts or music or both?
I usually listen to music.
Yeah. What's your, give us some music, a genre or, group or something like that.
It's kind of pretty well rounded out. A lot of country.
Yeah. What would be a country? What would be one? I recently watched the country, the Ken Burns country documentary, but who would be one album or group?
Gosh, I'm not good at recalling those.
No? Are you more, well, here's a question for you. Are you more like a Elvis fan or a Beatles fan?
I'm more to the Beatles side.
You're more Beatles.
Yeah.
That's right. There you go. So that's good. Yeah, the Beatles are. That's interesting about Elvis, because a lot of people don't think about Elvis as what he is because he was so big. But he was it started out kind of countryish.
He did.
Right? He started out with him and Johnny Cash.
Yep, Johnny Cash is great. All that genre, that whole era, really enjoy. A little bit of Patsy Cline too.
Yeah, Patsy. Yeah,
and then
right.
And of course we had Toby Keith, who we lost. So that was.
Oh right, Toby Keith.
Great musician.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. I think that's the cool thing about country. It's the roots, really the roots of this country. You know what I mean? Like the country music is like where a lot of it is kind of stems from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I kind of grew up more on the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And you find yourself, it seems as you get older, you kind of roll back to the country.
Yeah,
You know,
you do. It's the
as Tennessee, I think the memories forward further.
yeah. That's awesome. Well, we'll put some Johnny. We'll get some Johnny Cash, and I just listened to some Hank Williams too, man. That guy was huge.
Yes, he was, very much so.
So okay, well we'll get some of that in the show notes. So we have some music to take people out of here. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there, Doug. We'll put links to flyfishingveterans.org so people can check out your event. And this is going to go live probably a week before your event, so people still have time to go out and join if they're in the area. And we definitely do have a lot of listeners I know in California, in Oregon, and around kind of the West. So hopefully we'll get some people your way. And yeah, any last words for those folks that are listening now that get them to attend, like to make the trip to attend the event?
Just October 5th from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock at Douglas County Fairgrounds in Roseburg. And it's a lot going on with silent auction, raffles, exhibitors, food trucks we have lined up out there for the event too. Bug Launcher Outdoor Team Flight Casting Championship, 60 tires, interactive demonstrations for casting and tying sessions. And one thing too is we actually, for a silent auction item, we have maybe we'll take this home, is Mackenzie River drift boat with a trailer.
Oh, year. Wow. You're giving away a boat.
Yes.
Who's the boat manufacturer?
It's a custom made Mackenzie River drift boat.
Oh, wood. Wow.
And one of our veterans has reconditioned it and restored it. And we're putting in the show this year for the silent auction.
Wow.
That minimum bid on that's going to be $2,000.
Yep.
And somebody can go home with that one.
Yeah, that's well worth the if you want a new drift boat, because these days drift boats aren't cheap, especially a custom built boat. I know we did a podcast with one of the boat builders out in the Montana area, and he, I believe, charges like $40,000 for his custom boat.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's more on the extreme, but I mean these boats are anywhere from $10,000 I think to $40,000 nowadays. So
wow.
So $2,000 or whatever the price is, it will be a deal. Good. Okay, Doug. Well, thanks for your time today. Like we said, we'll send everybody out to flyfishingveterans.org, and yeah, looking forward to keep in touch with you and the group, and have a successful event.
Please do. Hopefully, we'll see you out there on the 5th.
All right. If you're in the Western region, Doug mentioned himself, Oregon, Washington, California, Idaho, anywhere around, and you're interested in another great fly tying and fly fishing expo, you got to check out this one. We mentioned it. We talked about it today. It's a great one. Before we get out of here, just want to remind you to follow this show if you're new to it. If you want to check out what we have going next, that's the best way to find out what we have coming right around the corner. And also want to remind you, we've got some big trips going on right now. The smallmouth bass trip with Schultz Outfitters. This is a big one. If you still want to get involved and are interested to see if we have availability, check in with me, send me an email, or go to wetflyswing.com/smallmouthbass and leave your name there and we'll follow up with you. All right, I'm going to cut it short today, so I hope you have a great afternoon. I hope you have a great evening or amazing morning wherever you are in the country. And I look forward to seeing you on that next episode. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.